Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Sit back down and shut your trap. It's time for
Keeping It Sports with M3, right here on All Noise Radio.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Well, I'll need some beer.
Are you ready?
You have to ask me nicely.
Come on now, don't be bashful.
Are you ready? Are you ready for
Place for the best sports talk and news surrounding each league.
I can prove it with my usual flawless logic.
Hey man, this time I'm gonna do it my way.
What's your name again?
And now, here's your host, M3, Mike Rosansky. Coming to you from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. It's time for Keeping It Sports with M3, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everything's going well for you here on this Monday, the 10th day of February. Sorry about that, a little technical issue there when it came to the live feed I had to fix. Didn't realize when we went into the feed, the camera had kind of messed up, slipped, because I got it set up on top of the audio board here, so sometimes getting all three of the legs on it to stand in one place can be a little bit difficult, but we'll do the best with what's provided for us. And no, it was kind of an interesting week here because I came into this for the first time in 4 or 5 months not knowing what to talk about to start the program today, due to the fact that, hey, we don't have football. First time since the beginning of September, no football here to talk about. And no, you're not going to hear me break down the XFL because, A, don't know a lot of the players involved in it. It was kind of a lot of guys that were practice squad players and guys that, you had Cardell Jones and Landry Jones amongst players that played in this, but not guys that we remember as big stars in college. Plus, to me, the XFL is still very gimmicky, and I understand why it's being done again, because it's the one thing in Vince McMahon's life that he failed at, and being that he's in his mid-70s now, he wanted to give one more crack at it before walking off into the sunset. So, no, for sake and purposes of those interested in it, I hope it does well. I'm not the biggest of proponents of it because, as I said, some of the rules are kind of gimmicky when it comes to the XFL. But hey, to each their own. What I'm excited about, though, is while we're saying goodbye to football, we're leaving it in our rearview mirror. It's finally time. We've waited all winter for it. We're almost there. You could smell it in the air, people. There, it's not much warmer out because when you think about it, you think about warm weather. You think about sunny days. But baseball is almost here. spring training is almost here. We are, about 11 days away from games taking place. Pitchers and catchers will report tomorrow, and I'm excited. You all should be excited. I mean, this is it's heading toward what's one of my favorite points of the calendar. With baseball starting, we're in the heavy part of the college basketball and the NBA season. Before you know it, it'll be Selection Sunday, and you'll have the NCAA tournament getting underway. Then you'll have opening day right there in front of us. And what's been great about this baseball offseason is, unlike the past couple of years with the offseason where it was a snore fest, you were waiting for moves to take place, you were waiting for the action to finally happen. This year, it's like it all came happening at one time. In a 48-hour span, you saw the three biggest free agents on the market in Steven Strasburg, Garrett Cole, and Anthony Rendon sign their new contracts. Josh Donaldson got a multi-year contract with the Twins. Mike Moustakas, finally someone gave that man a multi-year deal. He signed with the Reds who were very active this offseason, not just with the signing of Moustakas, but also bringing in the former Tiger Nick Castellanos to join the outfield mix there. So the White Sox make a couple of moves there, including bringing in veteran left-hander Dallas Keuchel. So all across the board, the Mets made moves, adding two starting pitchers and bringing in free agent reliever Dylan Betances. All across the board, you saw teams making moves. It was a very active end of November through December when it came to free agency, to the point where we get to January, the only thing you had unanswered was, where's Donaldson going to go? And then, of course, the off-field scandals, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. And was there going to be any trades being made? And one of the biggest known secrets in the sport was the Red Sox possibly trading Mookie Betts. And finally, after months and weeks of speculation, last week it occurred. And we thought it occurred originally last Tuesday. We thought the deal was in place to send Betts from the Red Sox to the Dodgers, along with David Price, to get from the Dodgers the young outfielder Alex Verdugo. It would have also included the Twins, with the Red Sox picking up a young right-hander, Brusdar Graterol. First time this week I've pronounced that name correctly. And with the Twins in the deal, getting Kenta Maeda from the Dodgers. Well, there was a little bit of uneasiness on the Red Sox part when looking at the medicals of Graterol, because he had been a starting pitcher in the minor leagues. They were worried about him being a starter long term because of some health concerns with his shoulder. So that the deal kind of fell apart there, but Red Sox and Dodgers were able to rework it. So now it's a deal in which it's just between the Dodgers and the Red Sox. Dodgers still get Betts and Price. The Red Sox will pay half of Price's salary. Well, the Red Sox will now get Alex Verdugo, a catching prospect named Connor Wong, and a shortstop prospect named Jeter Downs. And yes, Jeter Downs was named after Derek Jeter. So Red Sox fans, you're going to have to root for someone named Jeter in the next couple of years. That's what that means. But we knew this was going to happen at some point, because the Red Sox have made several attempts over the last couple of years to sign Mookie Betts to long-term extensions, and he kept turning them down. Last year in spring training, they offered him 10 years for $300 million, and he turned that down. They offered him that again. He came back at them looking for 12 years, $420 million. Who knows what the exact real numbers there were on that. But no, I don't know if it was exactly clear if he did or did not want to be a Boston Red Sox, but what's clear to me is that he wanted to hit free agency. And how can you blame him? He's 27 years old. He's in the prime years of his career, prime years of his life. When you're someone who's widely regarded as one of the top 5 to 10 players in the sport, and you're a year away from free agency, you got to be completely knocked over when it comes to a possible extension offer to take it before going out into the free agent market and seeing what else is out there, seeing what other teams could provide you. Because you get out into free agency, there's always that one owner. There's always that one guy who is just like, you know what? I want this guy. I'm going to go to whatever means possible to get him on my team. And Betts wants to take that chance on himself. He wants to take that shot. And hey, how can you blame him? But you also can't blame the Red Sox here. The Red Sox, as I said, made every opportunity to re-sign him. They've paid him good money in arbitration each of the last couple of years, going up to $10 million his first year, $20 million last year. We're set to pay him $27 million this year, but knew they couldn't risk just losing him for a draft pick. And if they could get not just some young players back in return, but also some salary relief on their books by getting someone to take David Price's contract, why wouldn't you do that? It's a perfect chance to, retool, fit the system there. And, if you're a Red Sox fan, yeah, you're disappointed. One of your favorite players is no longer on the team. But you have to take a step back and realize, hey, your franchise has won 4 titles in the last 16 years. Most titles of anyone during that time span. You've been, you had the time between the 2007 title and the 2013 title where it seemed like you were either a championship contender or just bottom out bad in between them. You even had like a 100-loss season in the mix there. I believe that was the year in which Bobby Valentine was the manager. But 4 titles in 16 years, after going 86 years prior to that without a championship, I think you'll take that. I think you'll be okay. And it's not like the Red Sox are going to go out there and try this year. They're not going to just completely bottom out and be a 100-loss team again this year. No, they're probably, a team that if everything goes right, they can win 87 games and contend for that second wild card spot in the American League. But I don't see them as being as good as the Yankees. I don't see them being better than the Rays. And hell, if the Blue Jays could ever come up with some pitching here beyond Hyun-Jin Ryu, they could be a pain in the ass to deal with this year with all the young talent that they have in their lineup. So, no, it's not going to be the World Series expectations for the Red Sox this year. If ownership tries to throw that at you, then they're completely lost here. Just a chance to retool and reset themselves when it comes to now being under the luxury tax. No, it is a bad look when you have a big market team, feeling that they have to cut payroll. But that's what the luxury tax does to teams at times. And, for a team like the Dodgers, this is a risk worth taking, knowing that you will only have Betts truly under your control for one more season, because it's been 32 years since they won the World Series. A couple years ago, they lost back-to-back World Series appearances. So there's a sign of almost like now or never here when it comes to them, because you've got a couple young players under your control in Betts and Bellinger. You have guys who are grinded out, kind of pesky players in Justin Turner and Max Muncy that you still have under team control for the next several years. Kershaw is not what he once was, but he's still a very good pitcher. You got Walker Buehler, who I still believe is going to, when all said and done, win the National League Cy Young Award this coming year. You put Price in that rotation, pushes back some of the younger kids, the dependency that you were going to have on them. This is a team that really it's World Series or bust for them this coming year. Vegas has already got them as the second best odds to win the championship behind the Yankees. So they're going to go for it. They're going to take this shot. They're going to take this opportunity. The only question I really have with this Dodger team right now is the bullpen. And will Kenley Jansen bounce back after a slip in performance last year? Who knows if he was really healthy all year? You got Joe Kelly there as a setup guy, and he can always be a high wire act. Maybe they eventually did get this kid Brewster Gratterall from the Twins in a separate deal in which they sent Maeda to Minnesota. Maybe they use him in relief out of the bullpen, and he is a kid that can help them out there. So, that's the only really thing that I think could prevent the Dodgers from going to the World Series in the National League, where they're clearly the favorites, although you got a bunch of other teams that you look around and say, this, and this happens. They can definitely give the Dodgers for a run for their money. We saw the Nationals do it last year. The Braves, if their young pitching can come of age and someone steps up there at third base in the absence of Josh Donaldson, replaces some of that offensive firepower there. You look at, there's no real other contender in the West for the Dodgers to deal with, but in the Central, seems like a very loaded division there. Milwaukee's always very good. The Cardinals are never really that bad. The Cubs, the only question with them is, are they going to trade Chris Bryant before the start of the season? As we know, that rumor has been out there. And then there's the Reds, who made all these moves this offseason, but you got to see how they're going to do before you put them out on the field, before you put them in any playoff conversation. They got to actually go out there and perform. We've seen plenty of times where these teams win the off-season battle, the front page battle of the off-season, and then come up lame. And I'm forgetting one team here in the mix. The Mets. The Mets have all the makings of a playoff squad this year. When you look at, they got a big-time ace in DeGrom. You have two young players in Pete Alonso and Jeff McNeil that everyone's really excited about. Alonso coming off a Rookie of the Year campaign. See how he does in his second year in the majors. A starting rotation that actually has some depth to it, although each guy has question marks with them, whether it be Syndergaard, who's 2 years away from free agency. He wants to get that big payday. Is he going to finally step up and pitch like the ace people think he is? Because he's kind of gotten a unfair, undeserved label as a top pitcher in this sport, and to me has been either very inconsistent were injured the last couple of years. So the last time I saw him pitch like a real ace was that wild card game against the Giants, and that was, 3 years ago now. So he's got a lot to prove. Stroman, who seems to be always running his mouth, getting into wars with the media members on social media. He'll be in his first full year as a Met, and he's coming up on free agency, so he'll want to have a big year. Matz, who's always very inconsistent, and then they signed two guys that you're looking for bounce-back years from, in Rick Porcello and Michael Wacha. Hopefully get the best from them. The problem with the Mets, though, well, you look at the team and you say, all right, they got a squad that can contend. That they made the two moves with the starting pitchers, as I mentioned. Brought in Dylan Patantas as an upgrade for the bullpen to add to Lugo, Wilson. You hope to get bounce back year from Diaz. But the problem with the Mets is it always seems like there's some off-the-field thing hanging over this team's head. And listen, there was nothing they could do about the Carlos Beltran sign-stealing situation. Once the Astros fired their manager, A.J. Hinch, and their GM, Jeff Lunau, once the Red Sox fired Alex Cora, the Mets were essentially in a tough spot and an inevitable spot where they had to let Beltran go before he even managed a game for them. It was just wrong place, wrong time for them, unfortunately. But now you got this situation that came up last week where 2 months ago it was announced that the Mets were going to start gradually selling the team to an investor named Steve Cohen. Over the next 5 years, he would gain 80% control of the team as he was already an 8% shareholder. And as things go, Fred Wilpon's getting older. He's 86 years old. He co-owns the majority stakes of this team with a man named Saul Katz. And with Saul Katz getting older, the Katz family wanted to cash out because they didn't want Jeff Wilpon controlling this team long term. So Cohen was interested in buying the team. He's one of the richest men in America at $13.5 billion. I believe his net worth would have instantly become the richest owner in all of baseball, and had Met fans excited. It had them thinking, all right, we're going to get a big-time owner here, someone that's willing to spend, not have to deal with the Wilpons anymore. But that all fell apart last week, and it's been kind of a he said situation the last couple of days when it comes to Cohen and the Wilpons. The Wilpons of baseball have tried to say that Cohen didn't act in great faith here, tried to lower the amount he was going to pay for the team, wanted the controlling interest right away, while the Wilpons, while Cohen's side said that Jeff Wilpon still wanted to be on salary for $5 million a year, even after Cohen took over, and said that he wasn't going to be getting the control right away. Here's all I know with this situation. Let's say, I'll compare this to, say, you're buying a car. You go out there, buy a car. Don't you expect that car right away? You don't have the dealership or the previous owners saying, all right, yeah, you're buying the car, but I'm still going to drive it around for the next 5 years before and use up the mileage on it before you can have control of it, before it truly belongs to you. How does that make sense? How can you ever negotiate with the Wilpons in good faith? Let's not forget, 8 years ago they pulled this same thing. Summer of 2011, when they were still in the midst of recovering from the Madoff scandal. they looked toward this investor, David Einhorn, who was going to buy some shares at $200 million. And if the Wilpons had not, made up that funding within a couple of years, he could have taken majority ownership of the team. Well, they start doing some underhanded tactics, like saying, we don't think the commissioner, Bud Selig, would approve of this after the deal was agreed to. But when Bud Selig was okay with it, then they start going to some of their other owners' buddies, saying that that we need you to disapprove this, say you don't like this, and eventually the deal fell apart. So they've done this before. It almost feels like, they wanted to sell the team, but they still wanted to control the team. Well, no, they take all that $2.6 billion from Cohen that he was willing to spend to buy the team. They wanted it so that, you own the team, but Jeff Wilpon is still in control, and that never made sense. That's why I'm surprised this deal lasted as long as it did, the negotiations for this deal, because 2 months ago, it seemed like a lock that this was going to happen, even though we were hearing that he would gradually get the 80% majority stakes over the course of 5 years. Never made sense. So, no, I'm not surprised that we're sitting here right now looking at this, saying that this deal fell apart, and now you have the Wilpons sitting there looking for a new possible investor to sell this team to, but who knows if they're going to be able to get as much as Cohen was willing to spend on it, and who knows if they're going to find someone that can trust negotiating with them in good faith. But as I said earlier, what is in good faith is that spring training is here. The happy time of the year. Baseball is upon us. Yeah, it doesn't change the weather outside, doesn't change how it dampens our spirits at times, but think it now provides you the opportunity to think about better times ahead, brighter, warmer times ahead, knowing that the boys of summer are here, getting ready for the journey that is the 2020 season. All right, a lot left to talk about today. Give some thoughts on the NBA trade deadline, the change in Knicks management from last week. As I said, we'll get more into the sign stealing scandal because there was more news coming out about that over this last week, as well as what was a very forgettable weekend for me. I'll get to more of that as we go along here. So glad you could tune in to the podcast today. If you're watching live, sorry about the technical issue with the camera here earlier. Try to fix that more during the break. If you're watching live, feel free to call in at 856-330-4749. And for the next, about 40 minutes or so here, just sit back, relax, keep it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
won the World Series in 2017, based on what we know now, what we know from the commissioner's investigation, is that championship tainted?
It's a fair question, and I think everyone's going to have to draw their own conclusion. I hope over time and the demonstration with the talents of this team, the players, the careers that are being had. We have some of the best players in the entire sport all together on the same team. I hope over time it's proven that it wasn't, but I understand the question. It's a fair question, and people are going to have to draw their own conclusions. Unfortunately, we opened that door as a group, and that question may never be answered. We may never know, and we're going to have to live and move forward and be better in the sport. But unfortunately, no one can really answer that question. I can't pinpoint what advantages or what happened or what exactly would have happened otherwise. But we did it to ourselves.
That right there was the comments of former manager of the Houston Astros, A.J. Hinch, who did his first public interview since being fired by the Astros last Friday with Tom Verducci of the MLB Network. And I give a lot of credit to both Verducci and Hinch here. Verducci asked every question that you would want to know about the sign steal when it came to Hinch's potential involvement. And as the report would say, Hinch wasn't involved but had direct knowledge of this. Asked about the fact that he didn't stop this. He didn't put a stop to this, telling the players, hey, this crap is not going to fly. And I give Hinch a lot of credit here because he didn't try to run from any of the questions asked. He didn't try to say, that this is all false, I'm being blackmailed here, or that deny any of his potential responsibility, because he was responsible, even though he wasn't one of those that was directly doing the action. It was more Cora and Carlos Beltran. He's the manager. He's the guy that runs the show on the field and in the clubhouse. And when his players are doing something illegal like this, he's the one that's going to, unfortunately, take the hit for this. He's got to have a better control of his clubhouse. And he admits to that. If you saw the interview, he admitted to that. There was one thing, though, that he said that I think made a lot of headwaves or news headlines, and thought was kind of fishy, kind of suspicious. Listen up on this one.
We've heard reports about Astros players wearing buzzers underneath their uniforms. That's how they're getting the signal, what pitch is coming. I know the commissioner's office looked into this and they determined there was nothing to it. Can you assure us there were no buzzers or anything like that being used?
The commissioner, we got investigated for 3 months, and the commissioner's office did as thorough an investigation as anyone could imagine was possible. I mean, I know he mentioned the emails and the texts and the messages, and I believe them.
Now, let's be honest here. That right there is probably the only bad answer that Hinch gave during that whole interview, if you watch it, because every answer Hinch gave, he gave some decisiveness to. He gave an actual answer. To that, he kind of walked his way around the question by referring to the investigation, referring to them looking at all of the emails, all of the phone conversations made by Astros executives and players and members of the coaching staff. So he never denies it. He never flat out comes out and says that this didn't happen. But to me, that answer shows that he's either A, lying to all of us, or B, he clearly did not know that the buzzers were going on, which we all believe they were. And the clear dead giveaway symbol of it. Just go back to Game 6 of the ALCS, Yankees-Astros. The walk-off home run by Altuve. How does baseball not look into that more? How did they not give a more thorough investigation into that? The fact that you got Altuve hitting one of the biggest home runs of his life, and he's rounding the bases. And at that time, you're thinking the guy should be in pure jubilation. But as he's running down the third baseline, the only thing he could do rather than cheer, be happy, is yell to his teammates saying, "Don't rip off my jersey. Don't rip off my jersey," while tugging at it. And you could clearly see some kind of wire, something sticking inside the collar of his jersey. Then everybody else is celebrating. He runs down the clubhouse steps with the hat and t-shirt, comes back, doesn't have his jersey on anymore, and has the hat and t-shirt on, and tries to tell us, oh, he's shy, or his wife doesn't like him taking off his jersey. Oh, come on. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of nonsense. He knew he was doing something wrong, and either Hinch didn't know about it, or Hinch was lying to us all, dead to our faces right then and there. I mean, that's the only thing I take out of that interview that I had a problem with. And, until baseball does a more thorough investigation on this, they're going to continue to have a problem with it. And, they could say all they want that they did, but they clearly didn't. And the big problem that they're going to have on their hands is the fact that now you had A.J. Hinch speaking. Who knows who else is going to talk? Who knows? Does someone get Jeffrey Luna to speak? Even though he's an unlikable crud, maybe we know that he felt like he was blackballed and didn't deserve to lose his job in this. Does he maybe decide, you know what? I went down, I'm going to take others down with me and write a book, do it in a tell-all interview, something to give away everything. Hell, Brandon Topman, the former assistant general manager who lost his job after the postseason there. Do we maybe hear from him? Does he have some kind of working knowledge? And he may, because it sounds like with what's come out in the last couple of days, this was not just a players thing. And it clearly wasn't, because you had bench coach Alex Cora involved in it. Carlos Beltran, who would later be an advisor with the Yankees and was set to become the manager of the Mets. The Wall Street Journal came out with an report on Friday. It was written by Jared Diamond. I want to give credit there. And it showed the extent of the team's cheating in depth that involved then GM Jeffrey Luna. He was approached by a team intern in 2016, presented them with an Excel application that could decode signs from opposing catchers, a program named Codebreaker, and was routinely referred to as the dark arts. You also had times during the 2017 season where Luna would be walking past the video review room during games and sticking his head in, saying to the guys, "Hey, are you code breaking or dark arts going on here?" That legit stuff. yeah, you have to have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal to read some of this, but just go to Bleacher Report. They have a kind of intel note per note on all of this. And per Diamond, he said when talking about the Codebreaker, in quote here, Codebreaker would operate by having someone watch live feed of games and log catcher's signs into the spreadsheet with the pitch that was thrown. The algorithm would break down the correlation between signs and pitches. That later evolved into employees banging on trash cans just behind the dugout to notify batters which pitch was coming, end quote. He would also go on to say the use of Codebreaker extended to road games as well as home games. So here we thought that it was just they were doing this at Minute Maid Park, but there were other places they were doing this. They were doing this at road sites. And no, it's ridiculous when you think about it. This story is not going to go away until Rob Manfred does more here, until he actually punishes the players. And I know he gave immunity to the players. He said you won't get in trouble as long as you give truthful, honest answers here. But you have an entire rest of your Players Association pissed off at this. He should have been able to go to Tony Clark and say, listen, I know you got to defend these guys, but at the same time, in defending them, you're going against 29 other clubs who are all pissed off, who are all livid at them. You've got to allow me the ability to suspend them, to punish them. Otherwise, we're going to have total anarchy in the sport this year. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. Every other week, this team is going to get into instances because the players around the league are pissed off at them. Every time these teams show up at, whether it's some kind of fanfare or showing up at spring training, getting initial comments, you've heard it from everyone on the big market teams. They've been asked about this, and all of them are annoyed. All of them, pitchers especially, saying, hey, wait a minute. I worked so hard to disguise what I'm throwing to try and, in my attempt to deceive the pitcher and hide what pitch type I'm throwing. And they've got someone that's able to decode it and steal that advantage from me. And it's as I've said all along. It's one thing if you can pick up a sign while you're standing on the top step, or if you're a base runner at second base and you can relay it to the batter. That's gamesmanship. Never had a problem with that. It's been around the sport for as long as baseball has existed. But when you're doing this, it's just ridiculous. And until baseball really does something to these players, it's a story that's not going to go away, because you're going to get more people to do interviews. You're going to have more people that are going to come out with stuff. I mean, this Wall Street Journal article that breaks this down bit by bit, talking about Lunau, his knowledge and being involved in this, talking about AJ Hinch and the fact that he broke two monitors with this whole situation, and still the players were doing it into the postseason. And you can't believe that they suddenly stopped in 2018. I mean, if they cheated once, what was to stop them from cheating again? There's going to be more stories that come out. There's going to be more people coming out and talking about this that are former Astros employees or maybe former players that had inner working knowledge of this, that are just going to decide to throw them under the bus. And quite frankly, they deserve to be thrown under that bus with the way the players have acted. The players had a chance to apologize about this at the Astros fanfare a couple of weeks ago. But instead, you got smug comments by Alex Bregman. You had Jose Altuve acting like he had no idea what anyone was talking about, saying, he didn't want the jersey ripped off now because he was shy. And still, I'll continue to say this. Where the hell's Justin Verlander? All right. Every time someone else does something, you see him throw his 2 cents in the middle of it. Whether the guy fails a PED test, or the Red Sox get caught with the Apple Watches, the Yankees also get a fine there as well because of some use of the bullpen phone that the MLB had a problem with. Every time someone gets suspended for a domestic violence violation, Verlander's front and center like he's the voice of Major League Baseball. And it's been well over a month since this stuff has come out about the Astros, and still we've heard nothing from that coward. We heard nothing. He hasn't thrown his 2 cents in there one bit. Now all of a sudden he's going to run from giving some kind of public statement. I mean, that's all the Astros are here now. They're a bunch of cowards. They're a bunch of gutless cowards. And, I've always been that guy that's against purposely throwing at hitters unless, a pitcher's trying to retaliate to defend his teammates. But I got no sympathy for what's coming the Astros' way this year. None whatsoever. They deserve it, every single bit of it. And, baseball, to me, beyond the suspensions of Lunau and Hinch that led to them getting fired, beyond the fines, beyond the taking away draft picks, they should have hit the Astros a little bit harder here, because not just with the players, but organizationally. I think they've done a okay job of recovering from this in the fact that the title wasn't taken away from them, and they were able to fill those voids in the organization okay. Last week they hired James Click, former VP of baseball operations with the Rays. He's their new general manager. They bring in a longtime Major League veteran manager, Dusty Baker. Sign him to a 1-year deal with an option that, being that he's 70 years old, that's all he was really looking at this point. Wanted to take it year by year, see how he's feeling. To me, if I were MLB, when I announced those punishments, I would have told him, no. You're not going outside of house to hire a new manager, hire a new general manager. You're not cherry picking from other organizations this late in the offseason to hire your new manager. Hire someone on the interim basis from inside and go from there. Now, to me, it seems like they're not even really serving any kind of punishment other than losing the draft picks, because they hire Baker, who's just as good a manager as Hinch, outside of having a World Series title to his credit, and bring in a young analytics guy in James Click from the Rays, who all they seem to do is develop these young hotshot general managers. They should have came down stricter on them with what they were allowed to do, because now it feels like they're not serving any punishment. Hopefully during the regular season, they'll get theirs. They'll get what they got coming to them. All right, I'm going to take another break here, come back on the other side, get to some NBA thoughts here with the trade deadline taking place last Thursday. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
It's been 48 years Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com.
Welcome back to Keeping It Sports with M3. Hope you're all enjoying your Monday afternoon. Now, this caught me by surprise a little bit last Thursday with the NBA trade deadline, because I've always thought the trade deadline came after the All-Star break. All-Star break coming up this weekend in Chicago. I always thought that was, the Thursday right after the break, not right before. But hey, you're a team that made a trade, gives you a little bit of a chance here to, gel with your new team, gel with the new players you got on the team before the break, where the league will essentially have a week off for all of the All-Star festivities. And, in past years, the trade deadline has always been kind of a bore. You didn't have much movement. And so you never really have any superstars getting moved here. The last I can remember as far as a big star getting moved at the deadline was when Carmelo Anthony was traded from the Nuggets to the Knicks. But you did have a lot of activity take place on Thursday and leading up to Thursday. The Grizzlies trading Andre Iguodala to the Heat, who had not even played this year. They acquired him last summer from the Warriors, and for the Warriors, it was essentially just taking money off the salary cap, freeing things up for re-signing Klay Thompson, signing D'Angelo Russell, clearing some space there, and Iguodala would be the casualty for it. But he never once played for the Grizzlies this year. It was all about the young players such as Ja Morant and the likes of Dylan Brooks, both of which have been kind of running their mouth toward Iguodala over the last week. Like Brooks talking about how, I can't wait till we trade him so see if he can actually play. Then Steph Curry fires back with a picture of Iguodala holding up the MVP of the finals, with then Ja Morant firing back with a picture of Kevin Durant holding the trophy. Listen, I can understand these guys are annoyed. They've been hearing about this veteran player who seemingly doesn't want to play for their team. But this is a 3-time NBA champion. While you guys, you both played well, you're still young pups in this game. Show some damn respect there, all right? He's earned that. And the Grizzlies, when they acquired him, they didn't even call him. It was essentially like he was told to stay home. He wasn't even called by anyone in the organization. That's why he's been sitting out all this time. And he was hoping to get a buyout before this, but they were just making him sit on his couch or go do TV spots on ESPN while he waited to see what his basketball future is. Now he gets to continue his career with a Miami Heat team that, I'll be honest with you, I know they acquired Jimmy Butler during the off season, signed him to a big 4-year max contract. I didn't expect the Miami Heat to be this good. I didn't expect them where you look at them and you say, they are contenders for the Eastern Conference Finals, and that's exactly what they are right now. You look at them, fourth best record in the East, just ahead of the 76ers. Sixers dealing with their own problems right now. A team who can't seemingly lose at home, but can't win on the road either. They're something like 24-2 at home, 9-19 on the road. Got a whole bunch of problems with that roster right now, especially the fact that they got four guys making $100 million, and when they're on the court together, they're a plus-minus of -3. I mean, explain that to me. But I mean, you look at this Heat team right now. It's they add to the mix Iguodala, who's won championships. Add Jay Crowder, who's having one of his best offensive seasons of his career, and is a guy that takes no BS from anybody. You're going to get all-out hustle from him. He's been a pretty good three-point shooter this season. And you do that while just giving up Justice Winslow, who's been a lost cause. Dion Waiters, who the Grizzlies have already cut, and he signed on with someone, if I'm looking at my Periscope timeline, signed on with someone named, let's see, a team from another country. It's a 2-year deal with Wahan Coronas. Don't even know if that's correct, but this person on Periscope's claiming that it's a Woj bomb of the last hour or so. So I'll take that person for their word for the moment. But they gave away pieces that essentially weren't useful for them and improved their roster, improved their chances of going up against some of the other big boys of the Eastern Conference. One team who I can't understand what the hell they were doing at the trade deadline was the Houston Rockets. It's one thing, you wanted to clear off Clint Capella's contract because he's making something like $19 per year, and I think we can all agree, even though this guy's a double-double machine, he's not exactly the type of player that you think should be making $19 million per. He's a nice player. Average is about 13 points, 12 rebounds per game, but not exactly a dominating player in that. Problem here is they trade Capella away. Yeah, you get Covington from the Timberwolves. Get a second-round draft pick, Jordan Bell, as well. You take Nene's contract off the books. But they're playing nobody that's 6'7" or higher. I mean, they're playing now P.J. Tucker at the 5, thinking that that's going to be their version of Draymond Green. You got James Harden going to the middle for the tip-off each game. And in the 3 games since then, they are 1-2 in those games. What they're going with a philosophy of is, all right, we're just going to not just double down on our philosophy, but we're going to triple down on the idea of we're going to keep jacking up as many threes as possible. Now, their goal is seemingly not to jack up 50 threes a game. It's to jack up something like 65, 70 threes a game and just outscore you and try and live with a perimeter defense. To me, that's not going to work. That is not going to work long-term in the West, especially when you get to the playoffs and things start to slow down. Every possession matters. You can't just continuously jack up threes. You're going to have to go up against teams with some size on them, whether it be going up against the Lakers with Anthony Davis, with Dwight Howard there. Go up against the Clippers, who Montrezl Harrell and Zubac, their main big men there, trying to fight them for those either second chance opportunities or getting the defensive rebounds. Go up against the Joker with the Nuggets. the fact that they don't have one big man on that team is going to be a problem for them in the long term. And I don't care how much cap money they cleared off here. To me, this makes them a worse team, not a better team. Probably the most insulting trade of the deadline was what the Pistons did, sending Andre Drummond to the Cavaliers for essentially a bag of chips. I mean, they get Brandon Knight, John Henson, at a second-round draft pick in 2023. They essentially told the league, somebody take him off our hands. Someone take him from us. All he has left of control is a player option coming up this summer. And, Drummond, I can understand how he feels somewhat insulted by not just this low trade value trade, but also the fact that they never broached him about, hey, we're considering trading you. Be prepared for any possibilities. Yeah, he's a 7-year vet, and he's been in the league long enough to know that you got to expect the unexpected. But at least for a guy that's hasn't been injured that much, has always when available been out there. I think he's played in his NBA career something like 500 in 10 of a potential 583 games. If I've got the number correctly, hasn't had that much of the injury bug haunt him, unlike his teammate Blake Griffin. Still, wow. As I said, they gave him away for essentially bag of chips, a bag of balls there with that trade offer. Then you got the two big ones of the day. The Warriors trading D'Angelo Russell to the Timberwolves. And this trade is a clear example of why now you can never believe any executive, because when the Warriors signed him, they said, oh, we didn't sign him to trade him. Well, that's what you did. In the first year you had him with you. You trade him to the Timberwolves, and you get Andrew Wiggins, who's been kind of a failed prospect so far in his short NBA career, along with a first-round pick in 2021 that's top 3 protected, and a second-round pick in 2022, meaning that they have a top pick this year because they're going to be in the lottery. Could get the top overall pick. They also got a pick from the Wolves. In fact, I believe this first round pick is not for 2021. It's actually this year. It goes over to 2021 unprotected if it's a top 3 pick this year. So this year they could actually end up with the first overall pick and the 4th overall pick. Or they could have, the 2nd overall pick and the 4th or the 5th overall pick. So they could have 2 of the top 5 picks in this year's draft. Think about it. This is kind of a get well year for the Warriors. After the gauntlet they've been through the last 5 years, with Steph, Clay, and Draymond playing in each of the last 5 NBA finals. That's the equivalent of 6 seasons in a 5-year span. And with the fact that Steph has said that he wants to play on Team USA in the Summer Olympics, this year's a good respite for him. Now, you never like to get injured, but a good respite for him. So take time off, get ready for the Olympics. He's coming back in at some point in March, so get some game action in there before he plays for Team USA. Clay, you get him back at 100% next year. They've been managing Draymond's minutes. The Warriors are going to be back to being championship contenders next year and for years to come with their 3 longtime stars and the 2 young players that they're going to be getting potentially in this year's draft. You also have that 3-team deal between the Knicks, Clippers, and the Wizards. And the big points of this are for the Knicks getting something for Marcus Morris, getting a first-round pick, so they could potentially have 2 first-round picks this year and 2 top picks in the first round next year. They're going to have 7 first-round picks over the next 4 drafts, so good for them as they're starting to rebuild here. And for the Clippers, you get Marcus Morris, who's been scoring 19 points a game. Won't be doing that anymore coming off the bench, but shooting a career-high 43% behind 3. And not only you get him, but the Lakers don't get him. That this was a guy that the Lakers were hot and heavy over as well at the deadline. And while you're there making moves, adding a guy to your bench, to your team to upgrade your depth, they end up not getting him and don't make any trades for anyone. And they're not going to, by the looks of it, make any moves whatsoever. Darren Collison's going to remain retired. I know they're working out J.R. Smith, but I mean, J.R.'s been out of the league for over a year and a half, and he's a pain in the ass to deal with even when you have him on your team. So this was a very good day for the Heat's hopes for making a deep run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Bad day for the Rockets when it comes to their size on their roster and the fact that they're relying too much on the analytics. And the Clippers, double whammy here. You get Marcus Morris. Yeah, you're going to lose draft pick order with the Knicks in the next couple years, but who the hell cares? You're a championship contender right now, and you get a guy on your roster that your main rival wanted, couldn't get, and they didn't make any moves whatsoever. I know that Lakers got the better record than the Clippers, but how can you look at the Clippers and not tell me that they are the favorites in a loaded Western Conference right now? All right, gonna come back after taking one more break here. Finish up with some thoughts on the Knicks. Some of the events of my Saturday night, as well as another gutless coward continues to exist out there. Continue keeping it sports with M3.
I'll be back.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere. On air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Welcome back to Keeping Sports with M3. Thank you to all of those who have tuned in this week, whether it be through Periscope, on Facebook, or you're just listening to the podcast version because you couldn't stand to look at my face. I appreciate all of the listener and viewership for this week. And I got to tell you, that this show has kind of brightened my spirits after what was a disappointing Saturday night for me. And disappointing on two fronts. Number one, on a personal level here, I am an outright embarrassment. I am a disgust. All of you that are listening right now should be ashamed of me for what I'm about to tell you. But, Saturday night, I didn't want to sit home, didn't want to just sit around watching basketball, checked in, see what my friends are doing. They're like, hey, we're going bowling. I'm like, all right, I'll come down to the shore, meet you there. We go to a bowling alley just outside of Belmar. I think it's in the town Seagirt, if I've got it correctly. About, 9 of us there, so we split things up in to 2 bowling lanes. And we played 2 games of bowling. And, for anyone out there who thinks that you can just play a video game of a sport, whether it be, golf simulator, play one of these NASCAR games, get behind the wheel of a car then, or in my case, play Wii bowling, and that means you're going to be good at something. Saturday night was the reality check, because I played 2 of the worst games of bowling you can ever see. Back-to-back games, mind you. I score 42 in the first game and 44 in the second game. And no, that is not 42 over the course of, 3 or 4 frames or 44 in the last couple of frames. No, that is 42 in the first game, 44 in the second game. It was an outright disgrace, an embarrassment. The only reason I didn't finish in last place in the first game is I believe, and she'll never admit this, but I believe the sister of one of my friends threw it so that I could feel better about myself. And why I believe that? Because she came back to kick my ass in the second game of bowling. Everyone's looking at me like, M3, what the hell's wrong with you? I'm trying to make excuses like, oh, maybe it's the fact that I'm a left-hander and all of these are right-hander bowling balls, which that's a thing, by the way. You look at the bowling balls, the holes in it, that is truly a thing. And in the second game, I was at 15 through, I think it was 7 frames. Yeah, 15 through 7 frames. I had to go on a run in the last 3 frames to get to 44. I am a disgrace. I am an embarrassment. I let my family down. I even text messaged them during the evening to show them how horrible I was. It was the worst performance of bowling you will ever see. So, mind you, I don't even think having the bumpers up would have helped me. That's how awful I was. There was at one point, they were worried that I was going to send the ball flying at the band that was playing at the bowling alley that was 3 lanes away from us. That's how horrible my accuracy was. So to anyone out there, if you are ever playing, some kind of sports game and you're really good at it, whether it's a NASCAR game, somehow that's still considered a sport, playing a golf simulator, playing, MLB The Show, Madden, and you said, oh, I'm dominant at this. Yeah, I could play that sport. Wrong, because you go out there, that's going to give you a quick reality check. Now, the other thing I was annoyed about on Saturday night is after we went bowling, we went to a bar in Asbury, and just so happened to be the night of UFC 247. Not something we were planning to do, and it's not that any of us are against MMA, because I could speak for all the guys. We were actually watching it. We were intrigued by the fights that were going on, but it's not at the center of our attention when it comes to our sports viewership. It's not something we make a habit of always watching MMA, though we should, because it's more interesting than some of the crap we've watched in boxing in the last couple of years. But Saturday night was the big fight. Jon Jones defending his UFC light heavyweight championship of the world against undefeated fighter Dominic Reyes. And I gotta say, even as someone who's a fan of UFC but not a lockdown diehard fan of it, I was disappointed because one, I was disappointed by Jones's performance in this fight. He had a couple of takedowns on Reyes, but never seemed to really take control, take advantage of the action here. Seemingly was of the mindset of, I'm just going to let Reyes punch himself out of the fight and wear him out and win by judge's decision, which he ultimately would. But, you watch the fight. Believe me, I was rooting for Bones Jones. To be fair, I got to tell you, Reyes should have won the title. And there was even though most of the crowd at the bar that night I was at was rooting for Jones, I think you ask most people watching will tell you that Reyes won the first 3 rounds of that fight. It wasn't until late in the 3rd round and in the middle of the 4th round, I believe, where Jones had a couple of takedowns on Dominic Reyes. And you look at the judges' scoring, they had Dominic Reyes winning the first 3 rounds. That is with the exception of one judge. And I'd love to know who this judge was that scored the fight 49-46 in favor of Jones. All right, Jon Jones did not dominate this fight. While you could argue the last 2 rounds of the fight maybe is what set the judges over to declare him the winner, because we always go with a recency bias in what we just saw. I really can't see how you could look at that fight and say, oh, not only definitively Jon Jones won this fight, but he won 4 rounds of the fight. Give me a break. And the fact that they're not being held to their decision, being held to it by answering questions about it afterwards. It's just like every walk of life. It's not like this is a political election and we have no right to know who you voted for. In this kind of situation, whether it be boxing or MMA, we should know who these judges are and know their reasoning after the fight for scoring things a certain way, especially when you have a controversial decision like this. And that leads me to my next point here. The gutless coward who didn't vote for Derek Jeter still has not come forward. I mean, come on, it's been 3 weeks now. And this guy, of the 397 ballots that were turned in, 396 voted for Jeter. 1 did not. And that's been my big issue. The fact that someone is trying to make a name for themselves at potentially Derek Jeter's expense. But hey, he got in the Hall of Fame. Of the 397 voters, only 315 decided to check that little mark at the bottom of the ballot saying, oh yeah, in 2 weeks you can make my ballot public so everyone can know who I voted for. Of the 315 that decide to make it public, not one of them is that one person. All right, all I'm asking for, show yourself. Explain to us why you thought Derek Jeter was not a Hall of Famer. Explain to us, was it, you knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer, so you wanted to use a vote on someone else, which is a dumb excuse. We've seen that happen where enough people do that and a player doesn't get in on the first time. Ask Mike Piazza. Ask Vladimir Guerrero. They were victims of that. Or there was the idea of you didn't like the guy, you thought he was overrated, which I've never understood the overrated idea when it comes to Derek Jeter. Was it you don't believe in voting for first ballot Hall of Famers, which is another dumb mistake? So wait, Joe DiMaggio didn't get in. And you continue to have writers after that said, all right, because of that, I'm not going to vote for someone first ballot. So because others made mistakes before you, with DiMaggio not getting in the first time, with the fact that Griffey had 3 people that didn't vote for him, 6 didn't vote for Tom Seaver, the fact that Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, Greg Maddux weren't first ballot guys, the fact or weren't guys that got unanimous. The fact that Vlad and Mike Piazza weren't first ballot guys. That means because there were mistakes prior to you, you're going to continue to make those same bonehead mistakes? Or, like I said earlier, you thought he was a Hall of Famer, but you wanted to use your vote on someone else. Maybe you were one of those idiots who put a vote at the bottom of the ballot for the likes of Brad Penny or Eric Chavez or Raul Ibanez, or Bobby Abreu, guys that we all knew weren't Hall of Famers. They were good enough to get to the big leagues and should be commended by it, but it was insulting enough to see them have their names on the Hall of Fame ballot that you're going to continue the comedy act and put a check mark next to their name? I mean, give me a freaking break. Show yourself. Tell us who you are so we can know why you didn't vote for him. And listen, if there's anyone out there that takes this life and death, who, that's probably why the person is not putting their name out there, because they're worried that, their life could be in jeopardy. I'm not about that. If you're like that, please get a grip. There's a lot worse things in this planet that we can focus on life and death. I just want to know who this person is and want to know why they did it. If you had enough guts to not vote for Jeter for the Hall of Fame, you should at least have enough guts to explain to us why you did not vote for him to go in. And I guess I'll close out today with what was a big story for the moment, but it's a story that still has tales left to be told, and that's with the Knicks. Around this time last week, the Knicks fired team president Steve Mills, who all I can say is about damn time. He'd been there forever and was part of the front office throughout this 20 years of losing that they had. Worked under Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah left. He was still there under Phil Jackson, amongst other regimes that were in the mix there. Those were just, to me, the two most notable of the regimes. But it seemed like he remained there because he was good buddies with James Dolan. But now finally they cut ties with him. The GM, Scott Perry, is safe for right now, but that could be a temporary thing to finish out this season. The next question after that was going to be, all right, who's now going to oversee things for the basketball operations with the Knicks? Are they going to be able to get someone to come in here that maybe Dolan's not comfortable with, and that Dolan will actually let run this thing properly, like he does with the Rangers, who never seem to have this kind of drama floating over their organization to the point where you have the crowds going to MSG every night chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team." Well, we knew the eye of their desire was the Raptors team president, Masai Ujiri. Problem is, he's under contract there through next season. And in order to do that, you're going to have to give up draft pick compensation. And at the time, with the place that the Knicks are at right now, they can't afford to be giving up draft pick compensation for a front office executive. So they made what I think is a rather interesting move here in going the route that both the Warriors and the Lakers have prior to them, going a route that the New York Mets also went in hiring a player agent as their new president, with the announcement of CAA's big-time player agent Leon Rose now taking the title as their team president. And I'm sure there are going to be more moves to come here. Like, there's been rumor about him bringing another CAA agent, William Wesley, better known as Worldwide Wes, along with them in some kind of role, some kind of capacity in this organization. And It's got Knicks fans excited about what's to come with the future here. They look at their clientele, see that that they've had past clients such as Carmelo Anthony and J.R. Smith, current clients like Devin Booker, Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns. Problem there is, and this is where I tell Knicks fans to tame their excitement, is all of those guys are under contract for the foreseeable future. Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns, in fact, are under contract for 4 more years after this. So they're not coming in any time soon. But what you do bring in here is someone that has good relationship around the league. That in Leon Rose, got good relationship amongst players, is highly thought of around the league, and players that are free agents can go and talk to players that were represented by him and will already have a working knowledge of him before you have any meeting there. You bring in Worldwide Wes, you have a guy that mostly is involved on the side of when it comes to representing coaches, especially with college coaches, and that's led some to thinking the idea that maybe John Calipari will come and be their next head coach. As I said, I don't think that's going to happen, but at least you got someone there that has connections to the college game if you decide to go the route of the college coach. Well, I'm not telling Knicks fans here to be unexcited by these moves. I will say, it's a good step in the right direction, because you're hiring someone that, yes, Dolan has previous relationship with, but comes at it from a different perspective. Doesn't come at it with the same perspective that previous guys under Dolan's watch have. And I gotta think if Leon Rose, who's been as successful an agent as there is out there, if he's coming and taking this new venture at this point in his career, he's got to have some kind of assurance by James Dolan that he's going to be the man in charge, and that it's not just going to be him working as a yes man to James Dolan, that Dolan's going to butt out of things here and just let the basketball guys run things. So, that part you got to be excited about. I mentioned earlier, you got 7 first-round draft picks coming over the next 4 years. So, while it's not the immediate change that you want, it's not the immediate, going from the doghouse up to the penthouse, I think it's a sign of them going in the right direction. Now it's just going to be about developing young players and then having free agents look at them and say, all right, hey, they're heading in the right direction. That's something I want to be a part of, because if I join that, maybe I could take a team that is in development stage and go from development stage to playoff contender, and eventually that leads to being a championship contender. I mean, who knows? This could all go and blow up in the Knicks' face, but as I said, it's a nice change of pace compared to what they've done in the last 20 years. And I know Knicks fans don't want to hear it. Every fan wants immediate success, but what's another couple of years of mediocrity or even being bad if it means that it's going to be building in the right direction eventually? If it means you've waited this long, why not wait a little longer if it means you're going to be doing it the right way rather than always looking for the quick fix. And that, my friends, is Keeping Sports with M3 for Monday, February 10th, 2020. Everyone, have a great night, and I'll talk to you guys again same time next week. Peace.
We have to go. Good night, everybody. I have had enough of you. Thank you for all the fun. Thank you. Hey, shut up, will ya?
I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to smell you. Now leave. I'll be back.